What's up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast. This time we were talking about WWE Hell in a Cell 2020 coming up this Sunday. We got 4 matches on the card. It's Wednesday afternoon, so this is going to be a kind of short one. I'm your host as always, Tony Mango. Joining me as always, Robert DeFelice.
Hi, I'm Robert DeFelice. You may remember me from such pay-per-view predictions such as Randy Orton will defeat Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam and Randy Orton will defeat Drew McIntyre at Clash of Champions. What will happen this week? You'll find out.
There's also Callum Wiggins.
Welcome to another edition of Smark Moment Speculates on what's going to happen on the pay-per-view.
And Stephen Wago.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
It's free
Hell Hydra. So yeah, as we normally do here, we are going to be running down what little of the card we actually can run down right here, and we invite you to join in the discussion of whatever discussion we have in the comment section below. Obviously, you should head over to YouTube because that's the best way to join the discussion because it actually has a comment section. So go over there, and if you have not subscribed to us already, do that. Also hit that little notification bell, hit the like button on the video, share it helps out quite a bit. If you want to hit the applause button, that's awesome. Hit the join button if you want to be part of the membership side of YouTube. There's the Patreon, patreon.com/smarkoutmoment if you want to show your support on the monetary side of things. Even $1 goes a long way, but $10 that up gives you access to the dark casts, and that has been something we've been doing quite a bit of. We did the mock draft and everything else that's happened. Actually did a special bonus mock draft, so go ahead and check that out on the YouTube channel. And there are some different things that are out there. Go ahead and browse the Patreon if you're interested in that. Head up to merch shops, TeePublic and Redbubble if you want to pick up some kind of t-shirts or stickers or different things that are on there, because there are shops for Smark Out Moment as well as A Mango Tees and Fanboys Anonymous. Obviously, check out fanboysanonymous.com and hit up all those things, Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and whatnot, if you want to show your support for there, the Patreon over there, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, we are just going to kind of get this ball rolling because there's not much that we can talk about. Now, normally what we like to do here is we like to break down some possible predictions of what may happen on the card. Yet, to be perfectly honest, I don't feel like there's much that we can really go for on this. Like the Raw Women's Championship. Well, Asuka's not really feuding with anybody right now. She already beat Lana, and Lana in a rematch is stupid. The SmackDown Women's title, we already have that covered. We'll talk about that later on. The Women's Tag Team Championship, they just beat everybody on Raw, so none of that matters.
That's why during the kickoff show, they're going to somehow get a match with Asuka.
Maybe against just anybody, and it doesn't matter. It clearly doesn't matter, and that's what's going on with a lot of these things. The United States title, Bobby Lashley, not at all his focus. He and the Hurt Business are just fighting with Retribution. And yeah, maybe you could do some kind of like Bray Wyatt and Retribution match or something, but that doesn't matter. None of that's been set up. It's Wednesday afternoon, the go-home week. We have no discernible number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship, although maybe Sami Zayn fights Otis. Even then, why is that happening? Because Otis is still feuding with The Miz and John Morrison. Why is Otis on Monday Night Raw, despite the fact that he shouldn't be? Because the draft just ended.
Hang on. Otis wasn't on Monday Night Raw.
Oh, Grand Gordo
was his dad.
Yeah, well, he's so much better. So, honestly, normally when we go into this with the what else can they add to the card, it seems like there are some pretty obvious picks. You know, oh, Lars Sullivan's been attacking this person, so he's going to have a match with somebody. Or, you know, this feud's been happening and they really just didn't announce the match yet before SmackDown. I'm not feeling anything. Street Profits against Ziggler and Rude, we've seen it already. They do it again, it just clearly doesn't matter. This is a 3-match card, and they're not trying at all to think or to give you the impression that it's not.
Well, first of all, it's a 4-match card. Give Elias some credit, Tony.
No.
And I'll just say this real quick. I think the Otis versus Zayn some women's tag team thing, and maybe an Asuka match will be added.
Well, we're shooting for, it's usually around 7 or 8 matches, maybe 9. Hell in a Cell ones, maybe they go a little long, and maybe we just go more for the 7th thing. So we would at the very least need 3 more matches.
I've said that the things that were happening on Raw, it's like it was the perfect opportunity in that Retribution versus Hurt Business match to have somebody from Retribution pin a member of the Hurt Business, and then that person gets a title shot at Bobby Lashley here, or to have some other women's team win the Fatal 4-Way match. It's like they booked all those matches and then forgot there was a pay-per-view coming up that they could actually build some matches towards, and they decided, oh, we've got another week to do that stuff, and then, oh no, it's actually this weekend. What are we going to do? I'll just throw it on there, because like you say, it's a 3-match card. They got those out of the way pretty quickly in terms of promoting them, and nothing else on the card is actually going to matter.
Wago, for everybody that doesn't know, is speaking
Wago
from the other room.
yeah, he's shouting into his microphone from the bathroom. It's okay.
Not at all anymore. We're having some technical difficulties ahead of this thing. It seems like it's carrying on throughout the recording.
That's fine. WWE is having some technical difficulties in booking this entire show. Why don't we follow suit?
Wago, when you get it sorted out, just start talking and we'll figure it out. In the meantime, I'll mention another thing. Braun Strowman versus Keith Lee. That would have been a good match for the pay-per-view.
Why are they going with the AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura? I'm going to punch you in the dick. No, I'm going to punch you in the dick. What's going on here with these guys?
They're going to form a tag team, the Dick Punchers. It's just building up to that.
You could have the big match between Matt Riddle and AJ Styles' Disney bodyguard.
Big Jordan. Yeah, put him on there.
Huge.
Because based on what happened on Raw, all Big Jordan has to do is just put his hand into a fist, and Matt Riddle will fall over, and you just cover him afterwards.
Well, in fairness, though, I think that is exactly what people want to see Matt Riddle doing right now. So at least they gave people that.
Who did Sheamus fight on Raw?
Kofi.
Well, Sheamus doesn't have any tag team partner to get a tag title shot.
Surprise! Cesaro's on Raw now.
Unless they do some kind of bullshit like that, yeah.
My audio back?
Slightly.
So my USB is kind of janky, so I'm thinking until I replace that, that's what's going to happen. If you guys want to just continue, I'm going to grab a headset.
Well, we'll continue with you on here. Let's just see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's no discernible number 1 contender for Asuka. There's nothing that I'm looking at on SmackDown that I feel like they will guarantee announce, but
I mean,
I'm worried that they're going to do a Mysterio thing with Rollins.
They'll do that tag team title match because it's their typical way of booking things. Is that they'll have that they had that tag team title match on SmackDown, but it didn't actually have a finish because they both got disqualified for kicking too much ass. Essentially, that's their booking logic of like
they wrestled too hard. Callum.
Yeah, they wrestled too hard into the double DQ, and so they'll have that match at Hell in a Cell. So yeah, I think we'll have at least a SmackDown tag team title match. We might have. I mean, it's a pay-per-view, so it's quote unquote neutral territory. So we could have Otis versus The Miz.
I guess there's a chance they just pick back up where they left off with Aleister Black and Kevin Owens, and for no reason.
Yeah. Would be funny if they had Otis and El Gran Gordo versus Miz and Morrison, and they just they do the thing that they would do with Edge and Christian when they were doing the Los Conquistadors thing. They'll just put Tucker in the El Gran Gordo gimmick.
Yeah.
The problem is Tucker's not that fat.
No, but I guess I mean, that guy didn't look much like Eric Rowan, but they decided he was a twin, so that's picked up a story from a way time ago.
It took me a second to be like, that guy? What guy? Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy that looked like Eric Rowan, a story that they just didn't want to conclude either.
They were like, hey, this guy looks kind of like Eric Rowan, huh? See you next week. And then the next week came and they're like, so anyway, moving on.
It was Eric Rowan. Haha.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, that's it's not been their best storyline, that's for sure. That's it. I mean, that's kind of like whatever they throw on there, it's not going to matter. It's just going to be filler crap, and it makes Hell in a Cell look worse. And again, Hell in a Cell should not be a pay-per-view because there should not just be like, oh look, it's October. I guess we need a Hell in a Cell match. Should just only happen when they actually have a feud worthy of a Hell in a Cell.
Halloween Havoc, right there.
Yeah.
You can do that in October.
You could do that. You could have a Hell in a Cell match on Halloween Havoc. It's not stopping you. But we do know we have 4 matches on the actual card itself. One of them is Elias versus Jeff Hardy, because Elias is like, hey, you clearly were the guy that didn't hit me.
Bro, watch your program. You know how much that annoys me? And Sheamus is on the fucking show, too. Go beat up Sheamus. You watch the show. Watch the show.
Well, doesn't that just prove that not even the people that are in the company want to watch the show?
And everybody's like, oh, well, I actually like this because this is continuity. It's the wrong continuity. He's not watching the show.
Yeah, I like the idea that they're calling attention to it. They're just calling attention to it in the wrong way. He should have gone after Sheamus.
You should have.
Then it would have been like, yeah, of course he went after Sheamus. He's the one who fucking hit him with a car. Instead of like, well, they said it was a bearded, redheaded guy.
That's clearly Jeff Hardy.
He ran me over with a car that said, I am the Celtic warrior. Fuck you, Jeff Hardy. It's a nothing feud. It's something that I think is more out there either to give Hardy a win and or to just literally promote the Elias album coming out on Monday. So I'm leaning more towards Elias wins just because he can come out and say, oh, I beat Jeff Hardy and my album is out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be the case. At least, it's like that. Saying this for this match. At least it's a fresh matchup we haven't seen before.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Elias is one of the superstars that when he was away, I just didn't care. Like I haven't missed Elias not once. I missed Charlotte. I missed Roman when he wasn't there. Elias, not so much.
Yeah, he's easily one of the more forgettable stars on the roster. I think Elias is definitely going to take this, knowing that they're doing the whole album thing. Jeff's got a habit of picking up wins that I don't expect him to, but I don't see it happening for this night.
Yeah, if it wouldn't been for the album, I would have gone 100% Hardy wins. It's just a means to give him another win because he lost the Intercontinental Championship, and we want to balance him out a little bit. But WWE can't help themselves when it comes to things like outside projects. That becomes their focal point. It's like, well, if that guy's in a movie, or if that woman's got some kind of I don't know, like Mandy Rose is on the cover of Fitness Magazine, or John Cena did a guest spot on some TV show, or the Bella Twins are hosting Nickelodeon Awards or whatever, then it becomes like, okay, well, we need to do something about that because that's important, because that's different and that's fun, and that shows that we are this great company and we've got all this, we're in demand, like that kind of thing. So the album thing, they could technically have him promote that after losing. It's not stopping him from just saying, yeah, you know what, I had a match this yesterday and Jeff Hardy screwed me, and one of my songs is about how everybody keeps screwing me over or something. I don't know what his songs are about. But you might as well just give Elias the cheap win. If he loses and Hardy wins, it doesn't matter. There's no stakes for this. They're going to feud anyway.
No, the stakes are on AEW, Tony.
You'd think that they would be there because Otis is there. Well,
Yeah.
El Gran Gordo is. Maybe that's the difference. Maybe that's why they don't have the stakes. But
I have to ask about this in terms of just the match itself. Is this Elias's last chance now, in terms, because he is proving to be incredibly injury prone?
No, because they see upside in his extracurricular activities. It's his last chance with me. Like I said, I went from being a major fan to just not caring. And
he's never been that good of a wrestler in any stretch of the imagination. It's always been character based.
But he's got such a strong character, and frankly, looks like what was his name? Damien Sandow on steroids sometimes. He's really well built. It's like one of those guys I just see Vince pushing constantly, regardless of how injury prone he gets.
Well, that was
Plus, we're kind of in the injury prone era.
that is true, but I think I was hearing, I don't know where I was listening to a report or something to that extent, the idea that his injury was he had a torn pec, and apparently that's part of the reason why he's wrestling in shirts all the time, is that he's, I want to say been disfigured, but his definition has been hurt by that injury, so that's one factor that might work against him now.
Ooh,
What was
that's
it?
rough.
What was it, 2 years ago when we were doing the podcast and we were like, yeah, let's have Elias win the IC title from Rollins. I am so far removed from that. I don't care what he does. I'm only picking him to win because, as Tony said, he has the album to promote.
Pretty sure we said the same thing like 8 years ago about Fandango.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time with Fandango, that's for sure. Then again, Fandango's gotten arguably better in some ways.
He's got a belt
And
now.
Elias,
He's got a belt.
yeah, he does have a belt. He finally does. Elias, the act's old. He hasn't gotten better in the ring. I mean, let's put it this way. Elias isn't bad. It's not like he's like, botching constantly and whatever. He's just not a thrilling wrestler. Like, I can't tell you what his finisher is. I know it's like the drift away, but I don't know what the move actually is. I can't tell you that. It's like
spinning
some kind of neck breaker of sorts or something.
I think it's some sort of neck breaker or fisherman suplex, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't hit it enough. He doesn't wrestle enough. He's clearly one of those guys that he is more of a character than he is a wrestler. And it's a shame because if he had the wrestling skills as somebody that needs some character, again, merge some people together kind of thing, he's got a good build to him. He's got a good look to him. He's got an interesting enough character when they want to do something interesting with him. And he just falls short on the wrestling side of things. So that's like, I don't know. It's kind of like if you took Honky Tonk Man, Jeff Jarrett, and maybe somebody like who's a really like bland, normal wrestler type.
Umberto Correa.
Correa's more entertaining to watch, I think, in the ring than Elias.
I'm not sure like who's as milk toast as Elias is.
Cal Bloom.
Sure, yeah.
Austin Gunn. Austin Gunn is as milk toast as it gets.
And you just sort of, Elias is a guy who works better on paper than he does in execution. And at this point, I'd go so far as to say he already had his last chance for me. I don't think that there's too much of a, he's on his way towards the main event scene. I think he's where he is, and that's where he's going to stay. I'd be fine keeping him on the roster. It's not like I'm saying he should get released or anything like that by any means. But I don't think that I would invest in him being a big deal anymore.
I don't think he'll be a big deal, but I still think he can be a solid act, because going back several years ago, there was a time where Elias was some of the most intolerable parts of NXT. Shows up on the WWE, shows up on the main roster, and he did really well for himself. So it's not like he hasn't had lulls in his career before. He can bounce back.
I still liked El Vagabundo, probably the best out of his time in NXT. That was
we
great.
need to like remove these. Oh, I know. We'll put a mask on you, and you'll be a luchador. You'll be La Luchadora or Juan Cena. Well, what is this? Why is
The
that
El
like a
Vagabundo
go-to
was
for
great. What are you talking about?
No.
Because it was so very clearly like an extra step beyond the we all know it's so and so. Like he literally came out with the guitar and everything like that. I like that. I thought that was great. It was a one-shot deal. Wasn't something like he did it for like several weeks or so where they ran the Joker to the ground. Just one pay-per-view. I forget which takeover it was. And then he loses in whatever one. I forget if he beat Oney Lorcan. I think it was Lorcan. Oh, well, it doesn't really matter. But the Elias and Hardy thing, it's just there to be there. It's not serving any real purpose. It's not like the winner is going to get some number one contender spot. It's not like they aren't still just going to have more matches afterward anyway. So if Hardy wins, then Elias attacks him. If Elias wins, Hardy attacks him. It's the same shit. They have another match in 2 weeks from now on Raw. Maybe even more after that. Some tag team match. Hardy and Matt Riddle against Elias and AJ Styles next week on Monday Night Raw, that kind of thing. It's just going to continue. It's just there to eat up time. It's a shame. Let's head on over to the... now we're at the point where let's talk about the Hell in a Cell matches. Yeah. Let's talk about the SmackDown Women's Championship Hell in a Cell match. Bayley against Sasha Banks. Thank God they're getting this over with to a certain extent, although I still feel like they're going to drag it out as long as they possibly can, because they very clearly looked at the SmackDown women's roster and they said, well, we got those two. Let's put Bianca on there and then we'll figure it out, because those are the only three that matters. I counted it, 69 superstars before they brought a fourth woman onto the SmackDown roster. 69 worth of picks.
You're just getting a kick out saying 69.
Yeah, thank you. I was like,
Well, I mean, notwithstanding, but the amount of nearly 70 people got drafted before they said we should have more than 3 women on SmackDown just goes to show you that, like, there's no big plans for Carmella. There's no big, well, make sure that we make Billie Kay look super strong in the future. They moved everybody over to Raw that they were interested in. They moved the 3 people over to SmackDown that they have plans to do. And then they started to go, all right, well, we need more people on there. So, I don't know, Zelina and Billie Kay, and maybe we'll toss Tamina back on there. So Bayley and Banks are going to feud for the next 3 months anyway.
no, they're not.
I hope they don't, but I think that they will. And even if they do that, I want Banks to just win the title here. I don't want this whole, it's Hell in a Cell and it should be the end of the feud. So let's have Bayley retain through some kind of shenanigans, and then that way we can build towards a regular match. They do that kind of shit every once in a while. It makes no sense to me.
I'm very much in the camp that believes this is a WrestleMania match. I don't know why that they felt the need to have Banks and Bayley engage in a will they, won't they for 3 years and then just rush it all in 3 weeks. I will never understand it, but it is what it is. At least Banks can say she's the only woman to have 3 Hell in a Cell matches, and she's faced all 3 of the other horsewomen in Hell in a Cell. She should win here. It makes the most sense. Bayley is going to win here because they have more faces than they do heels in their division. And I think the inevitable story becomes Belair defeats Bayley, and maybe Sasha gets to do something else in the meantime. Maybe she goes off to promote The Mandalorian. Of course, then there's the Mandalorian. Does that mean you put the belt on Sasha just so she can say, I'm having a great October because I'm in The Mandalorian and I won the belt?
When's Mandalorian coming out?
The 30th.
Yeah, very soon.
Good show. One of the only good
Great.
things positive about Star Wars in the past bunch of years.
Great
Yeah, it's
show.
like they went, let's make Star Wars, but not shit, and then they came up with The Mandalorian.
Yeah. So, like, let's actually develop a plot before we start working on this. Do we have a direction going somewhere? Do we have characters that might be kind of interesting instead of just, you like them, you know? Another discussion for another day on fanboysanonymous.com.
We will get there because Banks is in it, so we'll all be watching it. But I'm going Bayley as much as it's against my better judgment.
I'm going with Sasha winning the title here, mainly because I think they want to say, hey, look at our women's champion in a Disney production. It's a big deal. It's something they're going to want to do. If she ends up doing media, she can take the belt with her, though I don't know how much media they're going to do with coronavirus. But yeah, Sasha's taking this.
They can do plenty of Zoom type things. They've been having, like, Jimmy Fallon has Daniel Craig on, and it's just a Zoom call. Like, they'll do that kind of crap. So, yeah, I mean, they very much could just put the belt on Sasha for that reason, which would not be the reason why they should. The reason why they should is because it's like, well, shit, like we've been talking about. It's been 3 years. Just do it. Don't do the whole Bayley retained, and then now we have the whatever, and now we have a last woman standing match, and then we have a whatever match, and then we have a street fight, and then we have a regular match, whatever. And it sucks that the next pay-per-view that's coming up is Survivor Series, because maybe they don't do the brand warfare type of thing because they haven't said it yet, but then in the past they've waited until like 2 weeks beforehand to do it anyway. But if they have the champions against each other in any fashion, even if it's just Raw and SmackDown against each other, then that takes a whole month away from the whole building towards whatever the sequel match is between Bayley and Banks. I wouldn't be opposed to a second match between them. Like, if Banks beats Bayley and Bayley wants to have another match, she shouldn't technically, because they decided that they wanted to do the whole, well, you don't have the automatic rematch clause thing anymore. But then they always just go, so we'll have a number one contenders match and the same person will win. It defeats the purpose, kind of. But I wouldn't be opposed to that, but it shouldn't happen at Survivor Series, because that should be Raw versus NXT versus SmackDown, or Raw versus SmackDown. Then again, I don't want to see Asuka versus Sasha again. So if they're not doing NXT as a part of the mix, I'm not interested in any scenario that comes out of here. And frankly, if I had it my way, they would have done this feud a long, long time ago, and we would have been talking about a completely different scenario. But I almost wouldn't mind necessarily if Bayley retained, and then literally like the next night, well, not the next night because it's Friday, but next Friday has this random, I beat everybody, I even beat my friend Sasha Banks, you know what, I'm just going to put the title on the line against whatever, and she loses to Bianca. I'd be like, you know what, just fucking do it, you know?
This feud deserves so much more.
Well, they would have gotten it if they would have done it 2 years ago or a year ago when they had fans, and then they were like, now we can't do it. They really, realistically, they could have done this at WrestleMania and just been like, damn, we got screwed over because of the virus. Well, I guess we got to do it the way that we did with everything else. But instead, they were like, no, let's wait a while. And I think that they wanted to do it in Boston. And they were like, well, let's wait 6 months or whatever. And it's like, well, you can't just do that. And then hang on Nikki Cross and Lacey Evans for another 6 months or so. They killed it. Killed it a long time ago. Fuck it.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I'm going Banks, but I don't feel confident in it. I just feel like that's my brain saying, just do it, get it over with. But if Bayley wins, I won't be shocked. And Rob, you're going Bayley, right?
I took a look at the roster, and I thought they were more heavy on the babyface side of things, but it turns out the only baby faces they have are like Sasha, Bianca, the Riot Squad, who are a team, and maybe Mickie James, to be determined. So I don't know. I think the Mandalorian thing strikes me as a bigger deal, so I'll go Sasha.
My turn to talk now?
Sure.
Yes.
After another diatribe, but it's just a case of, in terms of this match, first of all, I think it's still baffling that Sasha Banks had her neck broken a month and a half ago, and now she's wrestling in a Hell in a Cell match. I think it's even more baffling that they decided to have this match on a random episode of SmackDown, or technically the draft episode of SmackDown, but they decided to give the first iteration of this match since they fought each other. Well, I guess they fought each other on random matches on Raw before and stuff like that, but the first match of a real feud between these two since NXT, on just give it away on free TV. But that's totally fine. And yeah, I think that Sasha will win. My prediction for the long term is that, with Survivor Series in mind, even though I don't play as much heed to them thinking about Survivor Series clearly as some other people do, just the idea that Sasha will win, take the championship, Charlotte will come back next night on Raw, she'll win the Raw Women's Championship from Asuka, and then it'll be Charlotte versus Sasha at Survivor Series.
I always forget about the whole possibility Charlotte can come back, yeah.
I'm so okay with that idea. I hope that they listen to you, Callum, because that sounds like fun.
I don't like I'm not against the idea of Charlotte and Sasha having a match, because at least it's different from either Sasha against Asuka or Bayley against Asuka, which we saw throughout the entire summer, so why do we need to see it again? But it's just a case of, I'm kind of sick of this narrative that as soon as Charlotte comes back, Asuka doesn't mean anything. So it's just, Asuka loses to Charlotte because that's what she does against Charlotte. She only wins against Charlotte when Charlotte has to go and get surgery.
Well, for that matter, if they were to do that, why not just have Asuka versus Charlotte at Hell in a Cell and do that? Unless their whole plan is Asuka has some like, I want to defend the title on Monday Night Raw, and they try to bump a rating with like, who's gonna fight that? Oh, Charlotte's return or something, you know?
Yeah, well, I think they would try and do that in terms of, at least it makes more sense, because if you put it on a pay-per-view, her return, or they just have the match on pay-per-view, it doesn't really mean anything, because if you haven't advertised it in advance, then nobody's watching it for that match anyway. So you might as well do it on Raw.
Yeah.
So it adds a little bit of intrigue to it, and you might get a few more views off the back of it. But
The more you
So I
guys talk, the more I'm thinking maybe it's Asuka and Charlotte take the tag titles from Shayna and Nia, because didn't Nia put Charlotte on the shelf?
Honestly, I can't remember.
yeah, I mean, I guess that's the story they're telling, but they could have forgotten about that, because why would they remember?
Well,
They're
you're
very
right, you're
selective
absolutely
in their
right.
memory. They're very selective in their memory. But I'm going with Sasha winning, just because I feel like that's the logical conclusion to this.
And wait, are you going Banks or Bayley?
I'm still sticking with Sasha. I think that she's going to get that title for whatever promotion she's going to do, and then probably drop it pretty soon afterwards.
That's kind of the Sasha narrative.
Yeah, probably the next time she defends the title. Yeah, pretty much what she does.
I
She never
just
holds
like
on
the
to a
fact,
championship.
from the fantasy league standpoint, that I took Sasha off thinking, oh well, she's out on the shelf. They'll bring her back for the Rumble, and they're just throwing it away now.
Well, I hope that she wins the title for my fantasy league, and then I can drop her, maybe. Let's go to the Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton match. They've had a couple matches. Drew McIntyre's won every single time, so why not have Randy Orton still be the number one contender? It really doesn't seem like it serves much of a purpose, but I'm of two opinions about this. I can totally see a scenario where, even though it makes no sense, that Randy Orton would just win, because it would be like, you lose, and then you win. WWE's done that before. But I am leaning more towards Drew McIntyre, and the main reason why is because of the draft. Now, Orton, of course, can win the championship, and they can be building towards something with Edge for WrestleMania, but that doesn't need to be for the championship. It can just be a grudge feud in some fashion. Whereas with McIntyre, I feel like if he just starts feuding with people for the sake of feuding with people, it's not going to matter as much. Now, he's been a good champion in a lot of ways, but he is a less interesting character as far as a driving force compared to Randy Orton. Orton's been doing fine without the championship. He doesn't need it. And there aren't as many people on the Raw roster right now who I feel like they could get a legitimate feud out of with Randy Orton. Yeah, they have Matt Riddle. They got Jeff Hardy. They could drag out the Drew McIntyre thing any longer, but they really, really shouldn't. And a couple people could turn face that are heel right now. Like maybe they turn Bray Wyatt face at some point, whatever. But in comparison, when you look at the amount of easy options it is for Drew McIntyre, over the course of from now through WrestleMania, he can very easily feud with AJ Styles, Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt. If they build him up, Dabba-Kato, maybe somebody from Retribution, whether it's Mustafa Ali or Mace or T-Bar. They've got The Miz and John Morrison. They're not the strongest contenders, but they've seen title match kind of situations with Braun Strowman in the past. So those are two that you could slide in for at least a filler feud. And you've got Sheamus. So that's somewhere around the options of 8 people, if not 10 or so. It's a lot easier to keep the belt on Drew McIntyre. And I do think that at the end of the day, that's the pick I'm going to go with, is McIntyre retains, because Randy Orton also tends to take some time off just to heal some nagging injuries and to make sure that he's not, separating his shoulder again or something. And that seems like this is around the time frame that they can do that. He loses a Hell in a Cell. They use that as a means to write him off for the rest of the year. And he comes back around January, ready for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, there's a similar mindset in that I'm going for Drew McIntyre over Randy Orton as well. My thing is more short-sighted. in terms of not just the draft, but if you are thinking about Survivor Series, the most intriguing world champion versus world champion match is Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns. You're not going to do Randy Orton against Roman Reigns, in my mind, because it's two heels, and we've seen that match before, and it's not particularly good. And I think it makes more of a statement for Drew McIntyre if he beats Randy Orton 3 times. I think if Orton was to win the title here, it basically means that McIntyre's 2 wins prior to that don't really count for anything. Because it's not a case of Randy Orton's a young up-and-comer who's just getting opportunities and stuff like that. He's a veteran. It's more in my mindset of this is more Triple H versus Batista trying to establish the champion even more by losing repeatedly rather than, okay, I'll let you have 2 wins, even though, well, one of them was through a backslide and the other one was because I got beaten up by 4 other legends as well as you during an entire match on my own. So, yeah, it's just a case of Drew McIntyre needs to get a definitive win over Randy Orton in this one. And Hell in a Cell is a good environment to do it in just because you can have a very violent and decisive way of finishing this match. So I think McIntyre kicks Randy Orton's head off and retains the championship.
I'll keep this short and sweet. Merging both of their prior answers together, you got Survivor Series, Roman and Drew, and the draft just is way too stacked on the heel side of things. So I think Drew wins because it's just the more logical conclusion. But if Randy wins, then I finally get what I've been asking for.
Everything from the Triple H versus Batista comparison was something I was going to say. Callum hit the nail right on the head. McIntyre kind of looked crappy because of the amount of help he needed in his last win. I think they need to give a definitive win to him. If you were going to put the title on Randy Orton, I think they would have done it already. McIntyre's definitely winning this. He's also the betting god's favorite and has been for the last few months.
So that means Orton's winning, right?
Yeah, no, because now that Rob's predicted that Drew's going to win, Randy Orton's definitely winning this match.
And then let's go with the main event. Possibly, it might not be, I don't know, but at least the thing that's popping up on the posters right now is like the main featured thing. It's also the more complicated match of the whole thing. It's not only a Hell in a Cell match for the Universal Championship, but it's also an I Quit match inside of a Hell in a Cell. So they're doing a stipulation inside a stipulation for a championship, which is like some kind of Russian doll thing going on here. It's kind of like a last man standing lumberjack street fight ladder match or something. But Roman Reigns is defending the Universal title against Jey Uso. And they've already established how this is going to end, as far as I'm concerned, is that guillotine. So, I mean, we don't even need to say it. We're all going to Roman Reigns retains here. Nobody's going to end up making the case that Jey Uso wins. And since it's an I Quit match, we all know how it's basically going to end, too. It's like, well, he's not even going to pin him because he can't. So, no awkward pin type scenarios, no, okay, well, maybe they do this kind of a spot and that leads to whatever. I'm assuming it's going to be he beats the shit out of Jey Uso. He puts him in the guillotine. Uso has to tap out and say he's tribal chief. And I'm assuming that it's going to be great because this is awesome so far. And Roman Reigns has looked fucking great since this whole thing. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, what he said.
It's been a very good feud. I just wish that, again, maybe I'm the only one who's trying to add some negativity towards this match in particular, because the feud has been great and Jey Uso has looked great and Roman Reigns looks amazing and he's been on such great form since he formed up with Paul Heyman and returned to WWE. But Jey Uso's not going to get anything out of this. This is just a filler feud that is so obvious to predict who's going to win, and it has been since the last one. There's no reason why this match is taking place other than the fact that they're just trying to fill time and they couldn't think of anybody else that they want to put into a feud with Roman Reigns right now.
You don't think that Roman Reigns going to beat the Usos into subordination and have them join later? I could totally see it being a heel faction going forward.
If that's the way they want to go with it, then this does have merit, and so I currently have zero faith in WWE doing anything that makes good logical sense. But to be fair, there's two things that they're clearly prioritizing right now. One thing on SmackDown, which is Roman Reigns and everything that revolves around him. So maybe they will do things right with Roman because of that. The other thing is on Raw with The Fiend and Alexa Bliss, which seems to be the only thing they care about right now.
And yet they don't
But-
have a match.
No, they don't. But that may be the point, really. So you can't ruin them with actually giving the Fiend something to do. Maybe that's what their plan is to do, but have Asuka lose to Alexa Bliss sometime before Survivor Series, and so Alexa Bliss holding the title instead.
Yeah, she is a possible contender for that. That does make sense.
But for this one, I think the match itself would be good. It's hard to get super invested in a match where you know the outcome. You knew the outcome before this match was even announced. That's how straightforward it is. So you just have to hope it's at least entertaining and violent. And I want to see how far they push it with this one, because what they did at Clash of Champions was already pretty like violent and hard to watch almost to a degree. So now they've got to push the boat out even further because it's inside Hell in a Cell and it's an I Quit match. So I guess because they are locked inside a cage, Jimmy can't run down and throw the towel in. They have to think of some more visceral way to have Jey Uso lose.
What if he starts like he runs down ready to throw the towel in and he just throws it at the cage and it's like, well, you didn't throw it in. It's the cage is there. And he's just he just keeps trying to like push the towel in through the
I could imagine a situation where like if Jimmy is helpful, or Jimmy is healthy, should I say, then maybe they could do something where he's beating up Jimmy as well. And I could even I don't think they'll do it, but I would like to see, I'd find it interesting if they somehow got Rikishi involved in this. Just have him beat the shit out of Rikishi, and that's one of the reasons why Jey Uso has to quit. Is just, and that could be also leading into the idea of like them just being at first unwilling subordinates to Roman Reigns, and the fact that he just beat the hell out of their old man, and he will do it again if they don't prove that he's like the tribal chief. He's the head of the family now.
You know how they've been doing a lot of things lately where Roman's talking a lot to Jey Uso? Doing the whole like, well, why are you going to do this? And like, how come you just don't say that I'm the tribal chief and, you're my family and whatever? Like, he's doing a lot of talking. Have Rikishi come out and be like, so why are you doing this? And I'll be like, I'm doing it for my sons. Just kind of like bring that back.
Is Heyman going to be locked in the cell with them, or is he going to be on the outside? Because if he's on the outside, I could see Jimmy getting involved, attacking him, and that's how they break out of the cell. But otherwise, I'm not sure what they're going to do.
Why would Roman stop what he's doing to save Paul Heyman?
He's pretty much a heel now.
He has to save him.
Yeah, it's almost more of a heel thing to do to just let his manager get beaten up on the outside rather than go and save him.
Well, in his world, he's not a traditional heel or face. He's Roman Reigns, and he does what he wants.
And there's no such thing as heel and faces anymore.
What they could do is they could have Paul Heyman has the key to the cell, and Jimmy Uso comes out, attacks him, forces it. Oh, I'm just an advocate. Like whatever. Here you go. Here's the key, and he gets in that way.
Well, we know what the key to Hell in a Cell is. It's a pair of bolt cutters. They showed that on Raw. They showed on Raw how you get inside the impenetrable Hell in a Cell.
Which was penetrable on the very first outing.
Yeah, but see, apparently if you do that, it just ends the show.
Oh, that's right. The new Red Cage has that rule.
Yeah, so if Jimmy Uso were to get some bolt cutters, cut it open up the cage, and have some kind of a stare down with Roman Reigns, as soon as Jimmy Uso would shut the door, it would just be like, all right, see you later, everybody. We got Monday Night Raw coming up next tomorrow night. So it's funny to think about that with Monday Night Raw, that it's like, oh my God, these guys are going to fight. We'll see you later. Really, realistically, it should have just been like, when they get to Raw talk, they're just kind of like, yeah, these guys are still fighting because that happened a minute and a half ago.
Right.
I mean, to be honest, since I mentioned Rikishi a while ago, I'm now just imagining Roman Reigns forcing Jey to quit by doing the stink face to him repeatedly.
That'd be fun.
No, it wouldn't. That'd be highly disturbing.
I kind of hope that they do the Ric Flair McFoley I Quit match thing, where you think Jey Uso's passed out in the guillotine, but Roman won't accept that. He's like, no, this is an I quit match, not a, forfeit or lay down on your ass match. You have to say, I quit. It's like,
To wake him
as
up.
we all, yeah, because as we all said, there is no doubt that Roman Reigns is winning here. This shouldn't even be the main event unless they have a plan like a Rikishi or,
Maybe they can't get Rikishi to come back, but they can get El Gran Uso. And he can come in and
what
wear
is wrong with
gimmicks.
you? What is wrong with you? Did that really leave that much of an impression on you? You referenced it like 3 times.
Yeah, why not? It's the best thing that's
What's the matter
happening
with
this
you?
week.
But, I mean, this shouldn't be the main event. It shouldn't have been the main event of the last pay-per-view either, just because it shouldn't have ended on such a negative note when you've already got your other world champion who's a babyface winning on the show. And if Drew McIntyre is winning, then that should be the main event.
And if
So-
Sasha's winning, that should be the main event and I think it will be because they go, look how much we care about women. Women are in the main event. I expect that to be the closer. But yeah, this is just
Well,
another
it's
showcase
actually
for-
Elias versus Hardy.
Well, I mean, there's only 4 matches, so it's not like they have many options.
I don't believe in sending the fans home happy necessarily in the final moments every time. If they've got something bigger planned for Roman versus Uso, that should be the one that goes on last. If it's going to be a beat down of the highest proportions and it's actually going to make people go, oh, whoa, goddamn, that should be on last. Plus, I don't want to send the fans happy. I hate the fans.
No, I don't think they will send the fans so happy, but I imagine it's going to be Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton in the main event. McIntyre wins, and then the Fiend attacks him to close the show because we can't have nice things.
The Fiend is pretty much the next easy option for him, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Because
I
somebody
kinda
like
feel like-
a Braun Strowman feud or whatever, they could do that at another pay-per-view. They could do that at Royal Rumble or something.
Which, it's just how heavily they're pushing them right now. I just feel like it's only a matter of time until the Fiend is WWE champion and Alexa Bliss is Raw Women's champion, and then they're like the main roster's equivalent of Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae, except the fact that they actually win the titles.
See, I don't think that Wyatt will win it, but I do think that he's going to be the feud for TLC. Maybe even Royal Rumble too, because maybe at that point, that's how you get away with not eliminating the Fiend from the Royal Rumble, is that he's still in a match with McIntyre.
I think Wyatt very much said that he was coming for Randy when he was doing the whole, he was pulling things out of the moving box in the funhouse. I think he alluded to the fact that Randy double-crossed him, and I think Randy might be next. And if that's the case, maybe, that begs a possible win for Randy, but I don't think the Fiend is champion at Mania.
God, I don't want to see Bray Wyatt versus Orton. I don't want to see more spooky images on the canvas. Fuck that noise.
Honestly though, I'll take Wyatt Orton now if it means Cena wins the belt at Mania and we get a little bit more of like an actual established star. Because the
I
one
love
thing,
the fact that we're just like it's 2020 and we're still talking about John Cena and Randy Orton fighting for the championship at WrestleMania.
well, honestly, have you seen anything this year that has made you think, well, it's a good thing that it's not about Cena and Orton these days? What have they given us this year?
El Gran Gordo.
God, Tony,
Besides which, I don't think Orton and Cena have had a singles match at Mania. It's
they have
weird.
never had a singles match at
They
Mania.
had, I think the closest they came to might have been a triple threat.
Yeah,
it
the
was
one with
that-
Triple
it was
H.
that- Triple H, yeah. And that was more about, well, it ended up evolving into a big Triple H
Triple H, Randy Orton,
feud, feud anyway. So yeah, it's the one place they haven't had a singles match. So yeah, just do it. No one cares anymore anyway. So just do it.
Fuck it, do it at this point. That way they can't say, "Oh, it's never been done before." Just get it done with.
For the first time ever, John Cena versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania.
They'll throw it down. They'll shove it down your throat, Tony.
I'd rather see if John Cena were going to return and fight in some kind of a title match. I'd rather him fight Roman Reigns. Unless
I'm good with that
if they get The Rock, then that's the match that they get. But if not, then John Cena comes back for that. It's the next best thing.
My overall point is, as we look at this Hell in a Cell card, I desperately want some stars back. Like WWE right now doesn't have a lot of bankable names.
Just bangs.
Damn it.
They've got enough names. It's just they're trying to spread them over 2 rosters. The draft does not work.
No, they don't have any names. Roman Reigns is the only name
Yeah,
they
they don't
have
have any
any. So,
names.
like, it's like, oh, AJ Styles is a name for smarks and people that, again, live in their mother's basement and wear wearing wrestling shirts like every other day of the week. It's just like,
Don't be so hard on yourself.
I know. I had a very sad moment of retrospection there, but it's just, but they don't really have any bankable stars right now. It's just like they'll have to wait until they actually get some, unless they, I don't know, decide they want to start building some again.
I mean, what are you talking about? We got these incredible mainstream stars like Mandalorian superstar Sasha Banks.
Hey, did you know that Charlotte Flair just signed on with Gary V's management agency? Crossover.
There you go. It's that proves that they're
That proves that it's Banks and Charlotte at Survivor Series is what it proves.
yeah.
Is that like one step up from the Robert Stone brand?
Probably.
In the real world, it is.
Yeah, so that's Hell in a Cell, at least for right now. Obviously, of course, they knew no matter what, whether they announce it on the pay-per-view itself, like the kickoff, they just go, by the way, here's another 4 matches or something. But somewhere down the line, they're going to announce a couple more matches. It might happen on SmackDown. It might happen just randomly. They might, 10 minutes after we get done recording this podcast, decide to put something up on Twitter because they do that kind of nonsense these days. So at some point during the week, hopefully we'll get more answers by the time that we get into the hot tags, and then we can break down the remaining matches that we didn't talk about yet when we start talking about that. Of course, after that, it's going to be the Paul Heyman SmackDown podcast. Then we're going to do the post show and the live coverage for Hell in a Cell on Sunday night. So stay tuned for those 2 aspects of the Pay-Per-Viewpoint coverage of this pay-per-view, the hot tags and the post show, where we'll run down everything that does happen on the card. And then in the meantime, as I said, sandwiched in between those 2 is the Paul Heyman SmackDown podcast. Callum, tell them a little bit about what's coming up next for that.
So the next edition of the Paul Heyman SmackDown podcast, coming to you on Saturday, is the first match back from the No Mercy pay-per-view. So hopefully you checked out the special edition if you're a $10 or above tier on the Patreon. So if you saw that review, you'll know that there was that bloody Hell in a Cell match between Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker. And so Brock Lesnar's still the champion, and his next challenger emerges on SmackDown, a big name, but won't reveal it there if you haven't checked it out. Which, well, gives you a bit of a teaser to actually tune in and listen to it there. There is also the emergence of the first SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the crowning of the first contenders for them. So that'll be dealt with, more progression of the Al Wilson, Dawn Marie storyline, which we all know and love. And yeah, that's something to look forward to. Obviously, Hell in a Cell, that the predictions when we actually get the entire card will have a bearing on the Fantasy League. So Fantasy League is going on. I'm still winning. Other people are trying to get points. So make sure you keep up with all the updates I'm putting on the Mega Maniacs. Check out all the articles on smarkatmoment.com, including the power rankings, my contribution. Check me out at Wigmeister14 on Twitter. And yeah, that's it from me.
And you can check me out on Twitter at DudeFelice. Check out everything I'm doing on Fightful and WrestleZone as we gear up towards a packed wrestling weekend, because not only is there Hell in a Cell on Sunday, there is Bound for Glory from Impact Wrestling on Saturday. So we'll be talking all about that and writing all about that over on Fightful and WrestleZone. And yeah, thank you for supporting. I'll also be on the Paul Heyman SmackDown podcast, and I'm going to pass it over to Wego.
I got nothing to plug until my work schedule is solidified. So all I'm going to say is go to facebook.com/themegamaniacs. We've got a big group of people over there that like to bullshit about wrestling. Tony posts announcements about Smark Out Moment all the time there. Bada bing, bada boom.
Alrighty, everybody. If you are following all of these things happening on smarkoutmoment.com, then you'll see plenty of stuff heading your way, because the next set of things we've got going on after this whole pay-per-view situation is all sorted out, before we can start getting into the next whole big series of pay-per-views and stuff, is going to be the AEW roster tier list next week. And then we're going to follow through with that with, of course, another pay-per-view, because Full Gear is happening after that. And then we've got a week where I'm not entirely sure 100% exactly what we're going to be doing. It's either going to be another edition of Time Machine Dream Team, which we do before Survivor Series. We've done 2 of them in the past, and I'd love to do another one of those. But there's also the fact that this is The Undertaker's 30th anniversary. So we might do Superstar Scores Undertaker instead. Maybe the Time Machine Dream Team will be an extra bonus thing on the Darkcast. Maybe it'll just be a bonus thing anyway, and maybe we'll just get the time to do it. I don't know. And then, of course, we got Survivor Series. And in the meantime, starting this weekend is going to be the Champs Giving tournament. The qualifying round is going up on Friday morning, and we're going to carry that on over these next couple of weeks because the week after Survivor Series, actually going to be 2 days or so after Thanksgiving, is when we're going to record the tournament recap, and we're going to reveal the winner of that. And then, of course, following through the rest of the year through whatever happens with December and stuff until we get to, which is only a couple weeks away at this point, the 2020 Smark Out Moment Awards. This is a weird year. So,
Yeah.
obviously, hopefully, if you enjoy all that stuff, you'll be sticking around for all that. If you subscribe to us and you follow us all over the place, you follow me at Tony Mango, you follow my stuff on eWrestling News and on Bleacher Report and elsewhere, and you just sort of hang around under a mango tree, get a little bit of shade. But for now, this has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.